My dear students, I welcome you all to study a new poem today. Animals. This poem is written by a famous poet from America, Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman, he was born on 31st May 1819, West Hills, New York, United States. He died on 26 March 1892, Camden, New Jersey, United States. He was poet, essayist, journalist. This poem is from your textbook, First Flight. This poem number 7, Animals. This poem is a poem from collection of poems. He has written collection of poems, Song of Myself. He wrote many poems and he gave name for that, Song of Myself, and from that group of poem, from the collection of the poem, this poem is taken. Really, Walt Whitman is a major figure in early American poetry. He broke the tradition of rhymed and metrical poetry. He was famous for writing a revolutionary new kind of poetry, which was in free verse. This poem, Animals, is from his work, Song of Myself in Leaves of Grass. My dear students, let's watch an animated video of this poem. Then after, we can discuss the poem.
I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me, and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them?
Walt Whitman, the famous figure, he has shown the comparison between human beings and animals in his poem, in this poem. He has pointed out the evils present inside the human brain, which he thinks animals don't have. That's why he thinks that animals are much better than human beings. Here the first line of the poem, I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. Placid, meaning of the word calm, peaceful. Self-contained, meaning of this word, keep control, controlled. Here the poet says, he wants to live in the world of animals. Here we can say the poet finds the world of animals better than that of human beings. The poet further says that he finds animals more peaceful than humans. He says in this way because animals are not running after worldly things like human beings. They are calm and have no greed for worldly things or any kind of achievements. They are self-contained. Here, the self-contained, the meaning of this, they are happy with life, what they have, and never interfere in the lives of others. Humans have the habit of interfering in the lives of others, but animals, they do not interfere with others. So the poet thinks that animals are better than human beings for being calm and not interfering in the matters of others. So the poet further says, and these are the reason why he stands still and looks at the animals for a very long time. That is to say, I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. Next, this line, they do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. And the next line says, not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So here in this line, the poet says, here the meaning of the word whine, cry. Since wrongdoing, the meaning is word demented, mad, disturbed. Here the poet says that, and like human beings, animals don't complain or any misery. They never cry out aloud like humans do to show what they have lost. They never stay awake in the night, crying in repentance for their wrongdoings. This means that animals are different from human beings because they don't show anger or grief if something wrong happens with them. He further says that animals are very truthful because never boast of their good deeds done in the name of God. He says so because most of human beings do this. They try to show their good deeds and religiousness to others. They do so in order to gain popularity among their fellows. So the poet thinks that animals never irritate him by doing such things just to gain some praise from their fellow people. He feels that the animals are not dissatisfied like human beings. They are not dissatisfied. They stay happy with whatever they have. They never run behind worldly things. They never try to possess things of comfort and luxury. He says that none of them is mad behind owning the worldly things. None of them. Here the meaning of the word, demented, behaving irrationally due to anger, excitement. Mania is grace, kneels to go down by bending the knees. Here whine, cry and complain. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. they evince them plainly in their position. Here, evince is indicate. Here, the poet says that he has never seen any animal showing his devotion to anyone by bowing down in front of the person. They never do so, even for their ancestors. They do not show devotion towards God like humans do. No one among is more respectful or more important are treated with more respect as compared to the poor. But in the society of animals, they never do so. They never give more or less importance to any other animal. Everyone in the animal world is happy. Everyone, they are very happy. They are not like human beings who find themselves the happiest or the saddest person on the earth. Further, the poet says animals are more honest in showing their relations with other animals. Here, he wants to say that animals use their other animals as their food and they never try to hide this. Whereas human beings show that they have nice and friendly relations with others, though the reality is opposite. The poet says that he accepts the fact that animals are true towards showing their relations with the other animals. They're very truthful. And the poet says in this line, I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass the way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Here negligently means carelessly. So at last the poet introspects himself and says that from where the animals got those good qualities. He further questions himself that where his own good qualities are gone. Did he leave them or he lost them somewhere else? The qualities that were found in human beings in the past, like innocence, kindness, truthfulness, are not now, they are not seen in nowadays, but they are seen in the animals. The poet wonders that humans gave up these good qualities. They have been passed on to the animals. Now the animals are very, very good, but human being, they have lost their good qualities like innocence, kindness, truthfulness. So the poet end in this place. I'll show you this poetic line again. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not spit and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make music and discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their position. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? The poet ends in this. The poetic devices, first of all, rhyme scheme of this poem. There is no rhyme scheme of this poem. This is free verse. Already told you, this poet has brought a new thing, new style in the poetry, free verse, without rhyme scheme. Next, the poet has used anaphora. What is the meaning for the word anaphora? It is the deliberate repetition of the first part of the sentence in order to achieve an artistic effect. Here, example, I want my money right now, right here, all right. Here, this word is repeated again and again. So, in this also, they do not, they do not, they do not. So, anaphora is used here. And in this line also, not one, not one, not one. The poetic device anaphora is used. Next, alliteration. Poetic device alliteration is used. What is alliteration? The use of the same beginning consonant sound in a line or a verse. So, example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Here, consonant sound, the P, pa sound, it is repeated again and again. So, alliteration is used. So, in this poem, here, make me, here, ma sound is repeated here. So, alliteration is used here. So, once again we will discuss the poetic device. There is no rhyme scheme in this poem because the poem is written without a rhyme scheme. The name of the poem is actually, it is written in free verse. Next, literary device is used, anaphora is used. The meaning of the word anaphora is a deliberate repetition of the first part of a sentence. So here, they do not, here they do not, they do not. So poetic device anaphora is used in these lines. In these lines, not one, not one, not one. Here, anaphora is used. Next, alliteration is used in this poem. The use of the same beginning consonant sound in a line repeated here. Here, make me, ma sound is repeated again and again. So, my dear students, you study this poem. It's a very small poem but full of meaning. So much information is given by this author, Walt Whitman. Really, this poem has written with a great idea, great message. So, everyone, we should be try to be peaceful, self-contained, and we should be away from our sins or wrongdoings. Normally, we do mistake. After that, we go and we cry, oh, I have done a mistake. So, but the animals, they do not do. Reason, they do not commit any mistakes. They do not do any evil things. What they have to do, they are doing that. They do not sweat and they do not whine about their condition. But a human being, they cry about their condition. Financial problem, if they have, they cry, they worry. Next, they do not lie awake in the dark time, in the night time, they go and sleep. But human beings, night and day, they work. The reason, they want to get money. Money minded. Materialistic world. The world has become materialistic. And they weep for their sins. People, human being, they weep for their sins. And they weep for their sins. After that, they go and they do their work. What is the work? The wrongdoing. Again they come and they stand before God and they weep. But the animals, they do not weep for their sins. Because they do not do unwanted things. They do not make me sick. That means actually they do not disturb others. And here the Walt Whitman says many people are discussing their duty to God and discussing to me. They have to do their duty, but they are discussing. They are saying that I have done my duty to God. I have prayed this many hours. See, it should be personal. And this poet says, they do not make me sick by discussing their duty to God. Their duty to God, it should be personal. They should keep themselves, but they tell me and they irritate me. But here says animals are not like that. Animals do not disturb others. Not one is dissatisfied. All the animals are satisfied always. All the animals are satisfied always. But human beings are not satisfied. And not one demanded. Here demanded is behaving irrationally. They are behaving irrationally, but human beings are irrationally they are behaving due to anger and excitement. And many of wanting things, that is materialistic world. Wanting. They want to want. They want to get more and more. But animals are not like that. And not one kneels to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. So they do not kneel before other. They do their work and they are very genuine in everything. Not one is respectable. That means every animals are respectable, but human beings are not respectable. Human beings always they are unhappy over the whole earth, over the worldly things. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. So they are very affectionate. But human beings, they do not show affection. They bring me tokens here, good values, virtues, that is symbols. They bring me tokens of myself. I had good qualities once, but they have now. They events, here they indicate them plainly in their position. They have good, they are innocent, they are kind. I wondered where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? And he says that human being, they lost the good values once. They had in the past, but they don't have now. But all the good values and virtues, animals they have, he praises. So poetic device, there is no rhyme scheme, free verse, anaphora is used. In these lines also anaphora used. Alliteration, we discussed, alliteration is used in this line. And finally, once again we will read this poetic line. I think I could turn and live with animals. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one is demented with a mania of warring things. Not one kneels to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the earth. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Myself moving forward then and now and forever, gathering and sowing more always, with velocity, infinite omniscience, and like of these. And this is the continuation of this particular poem. But we have got line only up to this. We have got the poetic lines. Till this we have got the poetic lines. So my dear students, you read this poem again and again and get wonderful lessons and wonderful meaning. Really, you will get wisdom. You will get very good knowledge from this poem. And be careful. Don't be materialistic. Don't be materialistic. Have good virtues and have good qualities in your life. My dear students,